Hi everyone, welcome to the first episode of Life Seasons with Sandy. I think the first episode may be the most difficult episode because I'm just trying to figure out exactly why the Lord has led me to do this. I just know that my life has been full of a lot of seasons, and my most current season is cancer, and it's a rare blood cancer that I'm dealing with. And I have just found that it's bringing me a whole new perspective in life, definitely drawing me closer to the Lord, showing me strength that I didn't know I had, and also showing me weaknesses that I really have never experienced before physically. And anyway, I just feel like I should be sharing my life journey, my life seasons, because I've had a lot of different seasons as I've had a lot of time to reflect upon my life the past several months. And so I was going to start today just by reading from the Good News Bible. It's the version I read, which ironically, it's the Bible that belonged to my Aunt Bonnie, who I lost to cancer 22 years ago, but it still has an impact on my life. So I'm going to read this and we'll just kind of go from there. Ecclesiastes 3. Everything that happens in this world happens at the time God chooses. He sets the time for birth and the time for death, the time for planting, the time for pulling up, the time for killing and the time for healing, the time for tearing down and the time for building. He sets the time for sorrow and the time for joy, the time for mourning and the time for dancing, the time for making love and the time for not making love, the time for kissing and the time for not kissing. He sets the time for finding and the time for losing, and the time for saving and the time for throwing away. That's for the hoarders. The time for tearing and the time for mending, the time for silence and the time for talk. He sets the time for love and the time for hate, the time for war and the time for peace. What do we gain from all our work? I know the heavy burdens that God has laid on us. He has set the right time for everything. He has given us a desire to know the future, but he never gives us the satisfaction of fully understanding what he does. So I realize that all we can do is be happy and do the best we can while we are still alive. And that would kind of sum up what I've been thinking since this past November of 2024 when I got diagnosed with cancer. So my goal for creating this YouTube channel and being vulnerable to share a lot of things about my life is because I really, really believe that that is part of the calling for me having my cancer. And I believe that we are supposed to take our lives and our experiences and what God allows us to learn through our experiences to share those so that those behind us that may also experience something similar can be encouraged, can learn, can not feel alone, can feel that they have hope, to know that someone like myself who has gone through so much can still have joy in the Lord. And am I happy all the time? On those days when I had a port in my neck and I was laying in the hospital trying to figure out how I even got in the hospital with everything going on. Not so happy, but I always found joy in the Lord because I knew that he was right there beside me, and I knew that he had a reason that I couldn't explain. And I will just share on this first episode that I had symptoms of numbness and tingling that increased and was in my body from head to toe. It started to the point in 2020, I started going to doctors to figure out what was going on. 2 different neurologists, a rheumatologist, nerve testing, lots of different things. And it was 4 years later that the symptoms became so bad that I ended up in the ER and then it was diagnosed, and just like Ecclesiastes says, it's all in God's timing. So I knew that he was bringing it to light in this time of my life. And I also knew that being sad about it, well, I don't want to say being sad because it is a little sad. So I'm not in denial about that, but moaning about it, griping about it, complaining about it, sulking in it, that wasn't going to help me, and it wasn't going to help anybody around me. And I just really did my best while I was in the hospital to just keep a smile on my face the most that I could, and just to be happy. And I am a Philadelphia Eagles fan. And for those of you who are not, my apologies for you that you're not a Philadelphia Eagles fan. But I'm saying that because during those times in the hospital, it was November, December of 2024, and the Eagles won the Super Bowl this past year. And so we were on a winning streak, and I was in the hospital for 4 different games. And so I had all my Eagle gear there. I was just making the most of what I was being given. And that's why I'm sharing it. I have my Eagles blanket. I have my Eagles PJs. I asked them to work my tests around the Eagles game, and I'm not kidding. I was riding in the ambulance from the ER to the hospital they were transporting me to, and the Eagles were playing the Cowboys, and I'm like, I don't want to miss this game. So I had it on my phone, and I was able to watch it in the ambulance on the way. I mean, I just did those things because I needed to focus and try to keep things a little normal for myself. And another Sunday when I had to go back a second time and get admitted because my IgM levels shot through the roof again, which meant the cancer was like going crazy again. So I had to go right back in the hospital the following week, and the Eagles had a game and they needed to do my plasmapheresis treatment. And so I told them what time the game was, and I asked them if there was any way they could work around it, because they weren't really busy that day. They actually had someone come in on call just to help me, which I really am grateful for. And so we timed it out. We got it all done, and she actually had a TV there for me to watch at the very end while I was waiting for my wonderful husband, Chris, to come. And he had taken our son, Bryce, to go stay with my parents so that Chris could come and watch the game with me. So I share all that because I wasn't even thinking about it until I just started talking. You know what? That's what I did. I just really tried to find joy in that day, whatever that day gave me. And that is what I'm doing now. And again, I'm much better than I was November, December, January, and even February. I think I'm a little stable now, but it's going to take a long process for me to get better. But I still, every day when I wake up, I feel the effects of my cancer. I feel the effects of my chemo. But I look at what's on my calendar and I do my best to find the light in the day. And I have been digging into the Word of God more because I know God has slowed me down from what was a very busy life to spend more time with Him. And also He has slowed me down and planted me in our home to homeschool our son Bryce. He's 11, he's on the autism spectrum, and it's time for him to have mommy here. And so I am here with him, helping him learn his school lessons, helping him learn life skills, but most importantly, helping him grow in his relationship with the Lord. And these are the things that I'm just going to share a little bit. I'm not committing myself to every day, but I am going to share them frequently because I feel like this is a good outlet for me, and I feel like it's going to be a really divine resource and a resource of encouragement. And I do believe that's one of the gifts that the Lord has given me, is a spirit of encouragement. And so I want to share that with others. So having said that, I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope that you will come back and watch more. And most of all, I will leave you with, oh, I'm drawing a blank on it. It's in Nehemiah, but it is the joy of the Lord is my strength. You'd have to Google it. But that's my verse, and that is what I claim while I was in the hospital and while I've been going through this chemo. So the joy of the Lord is my strength, and he will strengthen you too, no matter what you're going through. Thanks, and have a great day.